All right. So, unfortunately, for Mercedes Moné, fortunately for Mercedes Moné, but unfortunately for her friend, her former colleague, someone she made in WrestleMania with, unfortunately has been on the negative back end of some pretty harsh racist remarks. I'm talking about Bianca Belair. There was a post pertaining to WWE 2K24 that was recently posted, and in said comments of the post, there were a couple of people who had a lot to say pertaining to Bianca Belair's involvement. So let me read a couple of those comments. So Bianca doesn't, this is E3 Croc saying Bianca doesn't belong, but guess gotta have a black. Clearly, we know who did not pass English class. And then the second one was Mr. Matt_Sorrow. The two on the left, referring to Cody and Rhea. Yes, Bianca, absolutely not. So obviously, her colleagues, co-workers, friends came to her defense and kind of just talked about how good Bianca was. But I wanted to know your opinion of these racist comments.
Well, first and foremost, I felt really terribly sorry for Bianca. I don't think anyone should be subjected to that matter, especially when, if you look at the work rate that Bianca's put in throughout her whole main roster career, I feel like she has had almost like comparatively like a legendary career. You know, for the small amount of time that she has been present on the main roster, we watched this girl main event a WrestleMania, win a title, win a Royal Rumble, be one of three women in a triple threat in a Saudi event. Yeah. We watched her carry the whole women's division when Sasha and Naomi wasn't here. We watched her work with some of the best, the faces of the company. She's carried gold. She defended her title. She was always a present face. She was a consistent present face of the company. And I always admired Bianca as a worker, as a person, just everything about her. I think would represent otherwise the perfect employee. You never hear anything about Bianca doing anything wrong, anything morally wrong. You never hear about Bianca giving the company pushback for even when she gets shitty booking. She's pretty quiet. She's pretty humble. And it's not the first time she's actually been subjected to any racist comments. It's just probably the first time it's been put on full blast. But she was judged right off the gate when she was having her feud with Becky, for crying out loud. And in those times, similar to most times with other Black female wrestlers, I noticed that people don't typically come into their defense. And it's quite a lose-lose situation, if you ask me, because unfortunately, and someone interestingly brought up Maxine. Maxine got booed out the building recently, and you guys know about this. And everyone and their mama came to defense for Maxine. But it's quite typical that when Sasha would get ragged on, Naomi would get ragged on, Bianca would get ragged on, typically it kind of falls on deaf ears. And it's unfortunate because if no one else speaks up for them, it's like a lose-lose if they want to do. Because I feel as though there's that unfortunate stereotype that if a Black woman speaks up for herself, no matter what way she worded, if she went about it classy, if she just went off the rails, she gets categorized as the angry Black woman. And you never want to look that way, so for these poor women, they had to almost tuck their tail between their legs and kind of hush about it. So I thought it was a beautiful thing when the locker room came into Bianca's defense, because not only did she deserve that, she most definitely did. I thought it was beautiful that Rhea came out, Big E came out, Zelina came out, all her workers came out because, again, Bianca, like I said, she's quite literally the perfect employee that anyone can ask for. She's given so much to this company. She has created history in this company. She continues to break down barriers for women. And looking at all three of the choices that were on the cover, I'm proud of all three, by the way. I'm a fan of all three. And I don't want to take away from Rhea. I don't want to take away from Cody necessarily. But if you want to compile what each party has done throughout the year, Bianca has given her all. So the idea that you just feel like this is all about gentrification, that you just want to tag on a Black woman onto a cover just to have your token Black, is a bunch of bullshit, if you ask me. And excuse my French. but and it's funny me saying that, 'cause I'm always swearing on this podcast, but it just irritates me because it's just like, I would be so offended if I'm sitting here putting in the most work out of pretty much anyone on this roster currently, out of all the choices, men and women, besides probably like a Roman Reigns at this point. I'm putting in all the work and you're telling me I'm still not good enough. Like, what more do you want Bianca to do? What more is there left for her to do? She's almost did everything. And it's not good enough to be on the cover? Like, what do you want Shorty to do? So shout out to everyone that came for Bianca's defense. I'm a huge Bianca Belair fan, so this is not coming from just like me and my stanism. Right. But if you just want to look objectively at the whole thing, it's just a bunch of bullshit and just internalized racism. I don't understand what it is with you guys, where you'd be fine with, like, I don't know, back in the day, we would get like a Trish Stratus or a Stacy Keibler or someone random on the front cover. We're finally getting women on the front cover of a 2K game, and you guys want to complain about someone that actually put in the proper work rate to earn being on the front. And I don't see you guys giving the guys this much pushback about being on the front. I really don't. I don't know what it is with the wrestling community and their internal racism towards black wrestlers, but I feel like we all need to do better. But I felt like it was a strong start with watching the locker room come out and speak in defense of Bianca. So shout out to them, especially to Big E. Big E probably worded it the best for me. And it shouldn't have to take for something to happen. Really, it shouldn't have to be. This should be the proper response at all times. And I want to see more of this when I see black women wrestlers be attacked, because I don't think it happens enough. But I want to pass it on to you, Jordan. What do you think about the whole thing?
So I think we should start with this idea. I believe that every industry is a microcosm of what we believe as a society at large. So I'm not going to sit up here and say that it's a wrestling problem or a problem amongst wrestling fans, because when we look at Western culture, and more specifically America, there is a racism problem there. And within that racism problem are multiple layers that kind of explain and dissect why an issue like this is coming to pass. So first, let me just bring up a couple stats. In NXT, Bianca Belair, out of 99 matches, won, I believe, 92 of those matches. So yeah, out of 99, she won 92, I think. In WWE, I believe that she's won 206 matches. She's lost 11. I don't even know if this is accurate. Actually, I'm going to go to this because this is actually more accurate. She's had 500 matches. A total amount of wins is about 307. Total amount of losses is about 172. About 21 draws, right? In addition to that, in 2023, Bianca Belair was a top merchandise seller in WWE, which means that she was amongst the Roman Reigns, the Rhea Ripleys, people like that. She sold at one point a comparable amount of merchandise to what we consider to be the top stars in WWE. When we look at business, not just in WWE, but in general, you lean into the things that work. And Bianca Belair works. Like, if we don't talk about color and we don't talk about all these things, she alone works. And then we could also roll off her WWE accomplishments, right? Royal Rumble winner, SmackDown Women's Champion, Raw Women's Champion, WrestleMania main eventer. Like, she's done it all. She is drama-free. She has her own show. She has been kind of the face of WWE as it pertains to press and media. So I don't understand where the issue comes into play when it comes to Bianca Belair and why. Actually, no, I do understand. I actually do understand why. I actually do understand why we're getting this feedback, though, and why we're getting this kind of pushback on the Bianca Belair perception, right? This idea that she is a face of WWE and she doesn't deserve it. The one comment that I paid attention to the most is that Bianca doesn't belong. How is someone who has produced great wrestling moments, how is someone who, from a business standpoint, has moved merchandise, has generated a lot of crossover appeal for WWE. We see a lot of people attracted to wrestling because of seeing someone like a Bianca Belair. We've seen it on World Star. We've seen it on multiple black media outlets. She has that appeal, right? So how can someone that has statistically and numerically generated business for WWE not belong? I'll tell you why. Because of the perception of black people when it comes to any form of success. Because black people have been promoted or because most people in the world have been conditioned to believe that black people in some way, shape, or form are inferior, whether it be through our culture, whether it be through our accomplishments. There is this belief that if you see a black person somewhere, if you see a black person in a successful position, somebody just had to fulfill a diversity quota, or someone just put them in a certain spot. They got that handed to them. They didn't have to work for it. But the reality is that people like us have had to work twice as hard to get in the same positions as our white counterparts. That's just a fact. Now, the fact that Bianca Belair has been pushed as a face of WWE while being a model employee, while being statistically and numerically at the top of WWE, she is a draw. She is a merch seller. The fact that people can pay attention to that and say that she doesn't belong is a microcosm of what they believe about black people in America, which is the fact that regardless of how hard they work, somehow, some way, they were given that spot. Somehow, some way, they didn't deserve it. It was a diversity quota. It was affirmative action. It was diversity, equity, and inclusion. They shouldn't be here. And so because of that, we see, and because of that belief, not just with Bianca Belair, but in society and entertainment as a whole and at large, we believe that a lot of people who are, black people don't deserve to be in that spot because clearly there was a reason other than particular talent or work that positioned them to be in that spot. So then there's that. Now, as it pertains to the wrestlers coming to her defense, I'm so glad that it happened. And I'm so glad because it needed to happen. I felt like they needed to see a Zelina Vega, a Rhea Ripley, a Big E come to the defense of somebody like a Bianca Belair because it shows how much she's truly respected and admired and respected, not just on camera, but behind the scenes. When you have people like that running to your defense, it doesn't just mean you're a quality talent. It means you're a quality human being. But the reason why I'm so scared is because you kind of brought it up, right, with Maxine Dupree and this idea that you feel like there was kind of like her white counterparts weren't as attacked as Bianca Belair was. And that's because if you don't think that black women in general deserve to be protected, you're not going to feel as if they deserve to be protected in entertainment or wrestling or sports. Right? It's not just exclusive to Bianca Belair. We see it in the WNBA. We see it in women's college sports. We see it in arts and entertainment. We believe, based on how we treat these women, we believe that black women don't deserve protection. And it may be because of the strong black woman trope, it may be because of some internalized racism and misogyny. However, if people at large do not think that black women deserve to be protected at large, then we can't sit here and be surprised when they're not protected in certain industries and in certain fields. Because what happens in these certain industries and certain fields are only just a direct reflection of what we already believe based off of our experiences in the world at large. So, obviously, those racist comments were disgusting. Obviously, y'all know how we feel about Bianca Belair. That's our girl. We love her. But yeah, I'm not surprised about this at all because let's face it, like when you have a majority white audience that isn't necessarily to being, either politically correct or just being respectful of other people of other walks of life, unless they are, then of course they're not going to be as respectful and they're going to say certain things like that. But yeah, that's kind of our thoughts on Bianca Belair. Let us know about how you felt about those racist comments in the comments below. But we're going to be moving on